tests, you're going to move on to the exercises. Start off doing all of the exercises and get a good feel of them basically. But ideally what you want to do over time is find out which ones work best for you and find out which ones for you are more meh, that you don't really feel make any improvement. Ideally your mobility practice you want to be very efficient and make you feel good. So there's no point in you doing an exercise if you don't really feel like it is helping your performance in any way. So the very first one is the couch stretch reach. So you're going to set up for the couch stretch again, like we did in the test. Remember, hip to the floor, squeeze nice and tight, pull abs down, sit up nice and tall. And then, so what I would normally do if I'm in the gym would be actually to do bottom-up presses in this position. You're going to replicate that just by bringing your hand up, so as if you had a kettlebell in your hand, and squeeze your fist as hard as you can. What you're going to do from there is then reach up as high as you can. So you want to think about lengthening this entire side of your body, and then you're going to do that for reps. So it has 10 each side. Take your time, nice and slow, enjoy it. And all the time, make sure you don't start leaning back and you're trying to keep the bum squeezed and the hip forward the whole time. And don't forget to breathe. Very important thing. So 10 times on one side and then 10 times on the other side. You got that? One more. Reach up nice and tall. There we go. Remember to keep in mind that shoulder flexion as well. Hit the floor. Sit up nice and tall. Brace abs. Then, for example, when you start to get tired or something like that there, you may start to lean back. So it's like that bit like. So you start to lose the stretch in the hip and start borrowing from the spine, which is something obviously that you don't want to do. So front of the hip stays open the whole time. Brace nice and tight. Pull abs down, but step as tall as you can, and then squeeze, press the whole time. 10 times. Done. Awesome. Anytime after performing the couch stretch, this goes forever basically. You want to use the range of motion. So if you've opened yourself at the front of the hip, you want to use your glutes to maintain that range of motion. You have to give your hip a reason to not get tight again. The best way to do that is to do some sort of active mobility drill. So the glute bridge is absolutely fantastic for that. So what Jenny's going to do is have her heels up to your bum. Then from there, you want to brace your abs nice and tight. You don't want to be feeling like you're lifting up here. You want to be driving from your glutes, basically. So from there, lift the toes up ever so slightly, and then push through. So you should really be feeling your butt in this position. And keep the abs nice and tight the whole time. So you're going to be doing this for 20 reps. And the little things you want to be aware of is stopping breathing, and also overextending at the low back. So if you were just to lift up from the hip, you could overextend the low back. So if you can see a big curve, that is what you do not want. It should come from your glutes the whole time. So abs nice and tight the whole time. So, hang on. 7. Good. Keep going. And even if you wanted to pause at the top of some of the movements, absolutely fine to do. Squeeze as tight as you can. So opening up the front of the hip, and then using that range of motion, which is going to encourage you to stay more. This is great to do for, say, deadlifts or kettlebell swings. Hit them 2 things first as part of your warm-up. Absolutely phenomenal thing to do. Where are we at? 19. 19, good. 20, awesome. The way I want you to set up, so the next thing we have down here is 10 single leg glute bridges on each leg. So what you're going to do first of all is set yourself up in a standard glute bridge, and then you're going to lift one leg. Good. The main thing you want to look for is the hip not dropping. So if you set up like that again, bridge up. So what you don't want would be this hip to start dropping down as soon as you lift the leg. So you want to keep the hips up high the whole time. Awesome. And then point the toe, and you're going to go for 10 each leg. That's it. And all the things apply from the glute bridge. So a lot of single leg exercises, you basically want it to look like you're doing the 2-legged exercise on one leg, which sounds kind of cheeky, but that is what you're looking for. So this whole side here, it should just look as if Jenny is doing a glute bridge on both legs. That's it. Hang on. Yeah, and the other side. Remember, set up double. Hang on, back down. Double first, then lift the leg. Awesome. Down, up. Keep the toe pointed. That's it. The aesthetics of a gymnast. Maintain bracing the whole time. Keep squeezing as hard as possible. Awesome. After that, we're into 90-90 pushbacks. So what Jenny is going to do is set herself up on the floor. One hip is going to be externally rotated, and the other hip is going to be internally rotated. So the back leg is rotated internally, and the front leg is externally rotated. So this would be a more comfortable way to sit in the position. What you can start to do from time is actually extend the range of motion. So really try and get really good right angles here, like that. So from there, you're going to move into 90-90 pushbacks. Basically, that's going to be on the back leg, so you should have a bit of feeling of how your glute feels when the hip is fully open. So on the back leg, what you're going to try and do is reach that leg back as far as you can and squeeze as much as possible. So bring it back again, here, reach back again, squeeze. So it should feel as if someone is pushing in. So I'm giving Jenny a bit of resistance here to work with, and she's just keeping herself up nice and tall. So we can make this a bit harder in a second, but the first thing you want to do is really get the feeling of that glute. If you don't have a partner, you can use a wall just to push into, just to give you that idea of tension. So what I want you to do now, Jenny, is try and recreate that same tension without me there. That's it. And then back down. Okay, so lift the leg up. So this will be the full variation. Without having to set any hands on the floor, lift the leg up and just push back. Okay? Just be one push back basically. So to get to, if you find this too hard, what you want to do is put your hands on the ground, there, and then lift up. And again, if you still find this too hard, then you could put even the elbows down the ground. So if you need to lean that wee bit more, that's absolutely okay. And then from there, gradually, if you do a few reps, you'll probably find if you start to sit up again, it'll start to feel a bit easier. You may even start to get cramping in the hip, but don't worry about it, just keep working with it and try and get yourself up to this full variation. If you can't manage this straight off the bat, keep the hands on the floor, absolutely fine, as long as you're feeling your glute. So from there, to change to the other side, you bring the back leg around to the front leg, extend out, and then swap sides. And try and get into that nice wide position. And then on this side again. And again, remember about that tension, so lift the knee up slightly, push back into my hand, focus on the glute really working. And then again, try and recreate the same tension without me there. Push back, squeeze. Awesome. So this would be your push back on the one side. So each one of these would count as your reps. This would be 1, 2, 3. Then you would change to the other side. So we'll go back to the first side again. We'll go through all 10 reps on the one side. So sit yourself up nice and tall. Lift the knee. Push back 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also pull your toes up towards your shin. Again, you're really going to start to get a feeling with how much the obliques are involved with the hips. Awesome. Swap sides. If you need to put your hands down for swapping sides as well, it's absolutely fine. Lift up 10 times. Try not to lean at all. Sit as tall as you can. Start to get the feeling of applying your couch stretch into this position, opening up the front of the hip, squeezing as much as possible. Awesome. Did you just demonstrate when you're putting the hands down if you're swapping from side to side for me? So if you have to put your hands down to change from side to side, absolutely fine to do. Try and always make this exercise better. So anytime you do it, try and be more upright, more tension, more squeeze. You can always get better at everything every time you do it, and always think about that whenever you're doing any of these exercises. After the 90-90 pushbacks, you're going to move into deep lunge rotations for 10 each side. So if you set up in the deep lunge test again, so the hand, the side, the foot, and then the elbow down. This is the test. And again, if your elbow isn't quite down to the floor, just wherever it is, that's going to be your starting point. From there, you're going to push. So Jen's going to push into her right hand, and then slowly rotate up, and then reach up to the sky. So this would be one rotation. And then back down, wherever you can get to, back up. Some things you want to be thinking about whenever you're doing this exercise would be almost trying to pry your hip open. So if Jenny pushes her knee into my hand, That's what you want to sort of think about doing whenever you're actually performing the exercise as well. Don't worry too much if you roll onto the side of the foot slightly. It's absolutely fine. You're just really trying to get that stretch on the inside of the leg the whole time. When you're doing this part here as well, you want to think like almost like you're trying to wring yourself out like a towel. Open up the rib cage as much as possible, reach up really, really tall. Make sure that you don't let this other shoulder cave in like this when you're pressing down. That's it. So you don't want that. You don't want to be balancing the joint. You want to be active through that arm as well. So 10 each side. So press down the whole time. So every exercise, treat it full body exercise. What's this doing? What's that doing? Just try and get any sort of compensation that you may find. Be aware of it and try and work through and make it better. As well, if you find this too hard, you can drop the back knee down to the ground. Or even if you wake up and it's 5 in the morning, you're a bit too tired for balancing one leg yet, absolutely fine to do. With the back leg as well, bring the foot back up again. So knee up. You want to be driving that hip down to the floor again. So you're actually aiming to get a stretch in the back leg too. So this is deep hip flexion and hip extension on the back leg. So hip flexion on the front leg, hip extension on the back leg, and that is deep lunge. Deep lunge rotations. Okay? After that we have side stretches. So what you can do, if you don't have a rig, you can use a door frame to perform this movement. Both feet close to the post or the door frame. The closest hand is going to go in front, and then you're going to reach up and over with the back hand. From there, you just lean out to the side, like that. So that's the side stretch by itself, and then bring yourself back in there. So that'll be 1 rep. So you're going to go for 10 reps on each side. And you're trying to feel lovely stretch from here, opening up your lats and trying to lean into your hip as well. If you move the hand down ever so slightly, you'll start to feel it more in the hip. Make sure the feet, like I said, are nice and close to the post. And you may find from your visual assessment, if your hip was slightly higher on one side, you may find when you're performing this movement that one side is a lot tighter than the other one. So whenever you're building like your own mobility program, you can start to say, do a few more reps on that side. Feet nice and close, hand in front, lean out. And adjust the hand position to wherever you feel may hit the tightest spots that you may be experiencing. And remember to breathe. Are you ready?
8. This is 9.
After the side stretches, you're going to move into the zenith rotations. So what Jenny's going to do is set up in an all-fours position, tuck the toes underneath for me, and then send the hips back. The biggest thing that you don't want to have happen with this movement is for any compensation to come from the lower back or the hip. So the first variation of this is the hand up beside the head, almost like a salute. Okay. From there, you're then going to rotate up as high as you can, and really feel like you're opening up at the ribs here. Big things you want to watch out for would be the hip coming out the side when doing that. Yeah. Or like I said, if your hips are more forward, you probably rotate from the lower back, which you don't want. This is an upper back exercise. So if Jenny sets your hip back again, you're going to go for 10 rotations in that position. What you really want to be feeling is that you're working to create the range of motion yourself. So you're pulling with your back muscles, you're feeling your ribs opening up as you use creating that range of motion. You can get a lot less range than you think you can. The big thing that you don't want to be doing is just swinging your elbow up for the sake of it. You want to be slow and controlled, and remember to breathe the whole time whenever you're performing this movement. So this is the first variation. What do you got? 10? Awesome. So the next side, or stay the same side, and you're going to put the hand behind the back, like this. Make sure your shoulder is back and down in the socket. You don't want to be having it like this, again, just like the deep lunge stretch, and you're going to rotate a further 10 times like that. Making sure, again, that the hips don't move, and you're having to really fight and work for this position the whole time. Shoulder blade, back, pull up. Awesome. So 10 on that side, and then for the next 10, Jenny will face the front as well. just be aware again of the hips the whole time. Anytime you're limited somewhere, somewhere else in your body will try and help out. That's it. And then face the front. And again, demonstrate that hip coming out the side for me. So even if you don't have a partner that's spotting you, you get, or if you do have a partner, you can get them to stand beside you and block off at the hip, or set yourself up beside a box or your bench or whatever you may have to hand, just to be aware if your weight starts shifting into that side. And just really make it all about up top. This is really good for opening up your shoulders. And reach out as you can. And remember this other arm as well, don't let it start creeping around the front. So a lot of exercises that you're doing, you're always looking to have the shoulder back and down like this. You don't want to be sitting with this sort of position here, because then the joint is at the front of the socket. You're not really going to be getting that good muscle activation that you're looking for each exercise. After the zenith rotations, you're going to move into the thoracic bridge. So to demonstrate how to set up the thoracic bridge, first of all, Jenny's going to set herself up with her hands shoulder width just behind her, elbows locked out, shoulders back and down, and then just lift them up ever so slightly. If that feels okay, then you want to extend the hips up and then back down for me. So this would be a crab position in its own. If that's painful, you may not want to move on with the next exercise, but definitely you want to start addressing why it could be painful. If you're good, set up again, one hand, that's it, lift the bum off, keep that shoulder back and down, and then sort of reach away. So you want to imagine again that you're trying to lengthen this entire side here. So this is your thoracic bridge by itself. You're going to do 10 reps each side of that. So it's hips back down and then reach as far as you can. The whole time that you're doing that, you want to be active through this back shoulder. Whenever you get up to the full extended position, you should almost feel as if you're doing a side plank. You are shaking, everything is active. You're not just, again, balancing on the joint. This is what you really don't want. Just demonstrate one of those, Jenny, nice and slowly. So if the shoulder starts to come around the front, that's what you do not want. And then back through again. That's it. So 10 reps on one side. Where are we at? 10? Awesome. And then 10 reps on the other side. Always thinking about reaching as far as you can. And again, think about your glute bridges. You're squeezing the glutes when you're in this position. Lengthening that entire side. So if we look at this, we have our side stretch. Here, we have our glute bridge. And then we have nice rotation through the upper back. And that's really what this is starting to work on. This is a fantastic progression to start working towards your full bridge. What is that? 7. 8. 9. 10. Do you have a full bridge in you? Awesome. So this would be your finished position to work on to get in, and this will give you a really good overhead position. But obviously just don't jump into that one. Stick with the thoracic bridge for now. Awesome. Thank you, Jane. So after that, you're going to move into the assisted split squat. That is done on the door frame again, or if you have a rig, you can use that. So what Jenny's going to do is set herself up in a lunge position. Then the goal with this is to work on your ankle flexibility. So what Jenny's going to think about is driving your knee as far forward as you can over the toe. If your heel starts to come up, you would use the rig to press yourself back down. You're aiming to feel a nice stretch in the inside of the front leg, and again a stretch on the front of the back leg. Okay? And again, try and get the heel down all the time and just work around this position. This is a great thing just to sit in. It's a lovely stretch as well. From there, start to lift the chest up a little bit more, and then again get that bracing going and get that nice position here. And try and again keep that knee nice and far in front. If you have a partner, it's great to have someone just to say, keep it there. Okay? So this is the assisted variation because you're using the rig to hold on to. So we'll demonstrate the assisted and the unassisted first of all before we go into the reps. So unassisted, the setup for that, if you bring yourself through. So use an assisted one to set yourself up. Then what you want to do, Jenny, really slowly is take the one hand off at a time and squeeze your fist as hard as you can and lift the chest up as much as you can. So you want to be active in this position, and this will be your unassisted split squat, and then just stand back up from there. Awesome. Okay, so we'll go back into the reps. So the assisted ones first of all, set up, get that knee as far in front as you can, awesome, and then back up, far in front as you can, and back up. And really be aware of that heel starting to lift on you. So use the rig here to hold on to. If your balance isn't that great, this may be something that you would want to stick with before moving on to the unassisted variation. So always stick at your own level, guys. Don't try and jump onto something else, even if it looks easy. 10 reps on the one leg. Every time, say your heel lifts, remember, push into the rig. Use your rig to help you. And try and lift that chest a little bit more. That's it. Know what you think about bracing the abs. You're pulling yourself down with control the whole time. Pull down, lift chest up. So if you really have problems with deep squatting, this is a go-to exercise, guys. It's a phenomenal exercise. And the back leg, glute should be squeezed. And the front leg, you're thinking about pull down. There we go. 10. Awesome. Okay, after that, we go into the unassisted split squat. And again, it's 10 each side. So for your first rep, use the rig. So assisted for your first one, get that knee nice and far with the toe. So I'm giving Jenny a marker to aim for. She does it unassisted now. Touches that marker. And a few by yourself. 10 reps like that. Get the pops and clicks out. Is that? Okay, then the other side. Again, get that marker. Remember to set up unassisted first of all. Take your time. Always take your time in your setups. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Set up first. Set up. There we go. Okay. So Jenny does actually have a bit of tightness on this side. And this is going to be a great exercise for her to start working through that and trying to improve that range of motion. So any side that you may have limited mobility in one joint, it may travel upstream and start to, say, shift the hips, or maybe just reduce your strength ever so slightly. You're never going to be perfectly symmetrical, but it's a good thing to try and get down close. Any side? Awesome. After the unassisted split squat, we're into side plank marches. Absolutely hateful exercise. So get yourself set up in your side plank again. So the full variation we'll go for first of all would be the side of the foot again. That's it, nice and long. And then from there, what I want you to do, Jenny, is not change anything about this position, but almost imagine trying to drive your elbow down towards your feet. That's it. So this would be your full side plank variation, and this is a great thing to add into your warm-ups. The setup for the marches, then just stagger the feet ever so slightly, like that. From there, 1 rep each leg. So bring your knee up in your chest. Top leg first, so it'll be 1, and then set that foot down, and then the bottom leg, 2. You do this 10 times. There's 3, 4, and you're trying to keep this nice straight line the entire time. It's a very, very challenging exercise, but a great warm-up for squats, any sort of even running exercises, absolutely phenomenal. Okay, so that's one side, and then for the other side. So edge of the foot, remember to set up, nice straight line, pull that elbow down towards, you should be really working here the whole time. Great oblique exercise, and really again gets the obliques kicked in, working together with the hips. Awesome. There we go.
That's 10.
10. If you find that too hard, guys, if you're in the test, you can only go from the knee. If you set up again from each side, that's it. So go from the knees, and all you're going to do is just work with the top leg. Okay. So lift it up. So a bit higher from it. So lift it up as if you're doing a leg test. There. And then straight line. There you go. That's it. And again, if you can't even manage to do this exercise, guys, just work with practicing the side plank itself. It doesn't take a lot of practice. You'll find yourself getting quite good at it very quickly if you just devote a little bit of time to it each day. After that, we are on to our elbow withdrawal lunges. So that is a great position to start working all of these exercises and correcting your posture. So we've opened everything up so far. Now we want to really work to control those positions. So if Jenny rolls her shoulders up in their ears, rolls them back and just drops them down, draw your elbows back like that. So you want to maintain this position the whole time. You should be working here the whole time. Lift this up just slightly more. Feel like you're working? Awesome. Then from there, you're going to do 10 step back lunges. So just step back into your lunge, step back, backwards. That's it. Awesome. So 10 reps like that. And all the time, be aware of your upper body. You're trying to drive these back as far as possible. 10 in the same leg, and then 10 on the other leg. Take your time. There's no rush with any of these exercises. Slow and controlled. 10. Then the other side, 10. Knee down to the floor, nice and gently. Never bang your knee into the ground if you're doing lunges. Again, focus on bracing. Focus on pulling the shoulders back as much as possible. Tuck your chin in. That's it. It's a very, very challenging exercise. It looks dead simple, but it is very challenging when it's done right. Awesome. So the big thing, one more. Okay. Big thing that we want to make sure we're not doing again is that shoulder position. So demonstrate if you were to just put your elbows back like that for me. That's it. So you're leaning the chest down, you're in this position here. Your shoulders should be back and down, pulling in the whole time. So Jenny just turns around for a second. You should really feel it this way. So back to the camera. You should really feel like you're really working here to try and get all of these muscles firing. Okay. The cross arm overhead kickstand squat is a great exercise that is going to help you make the cross arm overhead squat better. So from there, we'll just recap what the full movement looks like by itself. The feet are just outside shoulder width. This is the goal. So the way to start to help you to be able to achieve this position is just to keep in your squat stance. There you go. Everyone, let's cover squat stance a little bit. Everyone's going to be slightly different. So toy around with your squat basically until wherever your knees feel the most comfortable. So if Jenny was to squat really narrow, can you bring your feet in for me? Say that just didn't feel comfortable. Say you were just feeling like the inside of your knees were grinding. These are things that you want to start to play with your own squat. That's it. So from there, you feel comfortable in that position?
Yep.
Awesome. So what you're going to do is then replace the heel on one foot with the ball of the foot. Just a slight movement. So it's not way back here somewhere. It's just from here to here. Then from there, you're going to put your hands above the head again. And then squat down nice and slowly. So on one side, you're doing a lovely, perfect squat, and it's a lot easier for you. This other leg here is to assist you into that position. So all Jenny's doing is focusing on this side here. What you can start to do from that is to start to push your sternum through, really try and open your upper back. You should be working to have the chest up as much as possible. The squat is a full body movement, and you should always treat it that way. That's it. We get 10 on one side, and then we'll do the next set facing. What is that?
I think that's 10.
That's 10. Okay, now face this way forward.
Yeah.
Awesome. So again, set up in your squat stance, replace one foot ever so slightly, and then down. And again, just to give you an idea visually, you're pressing through this the whole time, trying to lift up the chest as much as possible, and on this side, like you can see, perfect squat on the one side. And this is a great way to scale down that movement. Don't rush it, slower. Brace tight all the time. And remember to breathe. That's it. Okay. After that, we have the 10 single leg deadlifts on each leg. So the big thing about the single leg deadlift is that it should look like a deadlift on one leg. So if Jenny faces the side again for me, just demonstrate what a deadlift would look like as if you had a barbell. So the shins are vertical, chest, shoulders are locked down in place, and you reach with the hips. Knees back a little bit. Okay? There you go. Your goal here with this movement is to feel your hamstrings. So the back of your legs, you should almost feel like you're being stretched out. You're really just reaching with the hips, like I said. You don't want to try and keep your chest upright. So if Jenny was to really try and sit up as tall as possible, because Jenny's so flexible, you see she's got a big curve in her back now, and that's not what you want. You want this all upper body, so it's exactly the same, and reach with the hips and have a nice flat back. So that would be what your two-legged deadlift should look like. From there, what we're going to do is shift the weight to one leg. Jenny's going to try and point her big toe on her left leg towards the heel of her right leg, and then send the hips back and away. So this is your single leg deadlift. All I want you to do here, Jenny, is just tap yourself in the middle of the shin. Right, and that's far enough. As long as you feel your hamstring is working and your glute is working and you're getting that good balance and you're braced, that's far enough. You don't need to try and touch the floor. And again, what we want to make sure that's not happening is the pelvis opening up. So demonstrate that for me. So that will be a bad rep. The whole time just think, pull that toe pointed at the heel. Or if say you had a belt buckle on, you don't want to show the belt buckle. So if I was down here, Jenny wouldn't want to show her belt buckle to me. She's keeping her belt buckle private. Okay? That's it. There you go. And then the other leg. Awesome. Just tap in the middle of the shin. And again, you're really looking to feel your hamstring in this position. Keep that toe pointed. Reach back. That's it. And just the last 5, just turn to the front for me. Try and keep that hip down a little bit more. Jenny's actually struggling a little bit on this side. That's better. Really think about all upper body. Nothing changes up here. It's all about the hips. That's better. Awesome. And that is all of the exercises.